Hi, welcome to Spanish 101, and today we're going to be talking about the indirect object pronoun and how it works in English. This will help us understand a little bit of how the grammar structure works in English, so then we can look at how it works in Spanish. There are some similarities that I would like to share with you, and maybe this way you'll be able to recognize it easily. What's an indirect object pronoun? So the indirect object pronoun gives you the ability to replace the indirect object. So here I have a sentence. I send the letter to my brother. And in previous videos we've seen or we've learned how to identify the indirect object. And in this case, we know that the indirect object is the noun. It could be a noun or a person, I think, that receives an object. And in this case, we have my brother receiving the letter, so then my brother is going to be the indirect object. And also, another important thing that can help us know which one is indirect object is the preposition to. So in this case, I send the letter to my brother. We know that he's receiving the letter. He is the indirect object. In English, a pronoun that we would use instead of my brother would be, I send the letter to him. So him is going to be an indirect object pronoun, and that replaces completely my brother, because him is talking about my brother. Therefore, we can say that. Another example is they bake cookies for Maria. So again, another preposition that can help us identify the indirect object is going to be for. And who's receiving the cookies? Maria is receiving the cookies. Therefore, this is going to be our indirect object, and the indirect object pronoun that we would use to completely replace Maria would be her. They bake cookies for her. So again, her and him are going to be indirect object pronouns the way it works in English. So here we have an example. Bill passes the ball to his coach. So who's receiving the ball? His coach. In this case, we can completely replace that with him, with the indirect object pronoun him. And also, Peter gives flowers to his girlfriend. So here we have our common preposition, and his girlfriend will be the indirect object, and the indirect object pronoun will be her. And then another example is Anna lends her car to Maria. So who's receiving the car? Who's our indirect object? Maria. And the indirect object pronoun that would take place of that will be her. Anna lends her car to her. So as you can see, indirect object pronouns are commonly used in English, and it's something that you're familiar with. So now, in the next video, we're going to look at how it works in Spanish, and you're going to see a few things that are similar to English, but there are other differences. For example, the placement, where to put it, and obviously the indirect object pronouns in Spanish are going to be different, but we're going to be learning about those in the next video. This video only wanted to show you that indirect object pronoun is not something foreign to English, and you do it pretty much every day when you are speaking. So hopefully this was useful for you to know that there's not much of a difference in between the indirect object pronoun and indirect object in English and Spanish. Thank you for watching.